Hello, welcome. I'm Devlin, and welcome to another edition of Devlin's Pirate Radio Show. And I'm very excited because I'm not alone tonight. I have got somebody I always wanted to kind of sit down and chat with because we've only met a couple of times. But I remember the exact moment that I saw this guy, and hopefully I won't embarrass him too much. I was coming out of a show at the Staircase. I had just finished doing an improv show, and they had an open mic at the Staircase. And I remember going to grab a drink, and I heard a really amazing voice. And when I looked, there was this really handsome guy who was playing a guitar sitting there. And I started listening to the lyrics, and I thought they were really sincere, and I liked the earnestness of his voice. Then everybody applauded, and when he stood up, this is where he might get a little embarrassed, but he stood up. He was this tall, great build, these tats. He looked like a rock god to me, and my jaw just dropped because it looked like the guitar he was born with it coming out of his arm. I don't know. I just thought, wow, this guy looks like he should be like a huge superstar. So I saw him at the open mic a couple of times, and then I finally got up enough nerve to come and talk to you because I was really nervous meeting you. I don't know why. I have shy moments. And the amazing thing was when I finally told him I really like your stuff, he turned out to be this awesome guy that was not only like personable, he was just sweet, and I am so happy to get a chance to get to know him here, and I'd like to welcome my co-host, Jason Lambert.
Thank you very much, Devlin. That's a very kind introduction.
I hope it didn't embarrass you too much.
Oh, not embarrassed at all.
I have to be honest. I am a shallow person, and when I first saw you, I thought, oh my God, is he... But I did catch your voice right away, and I loved your vocals. I don't know if you remember the open mics at the Staircase.
I really, I've been meaning to get back there because one of the things I really enjoyed about the Staircase was the big openness of the room.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the time when the performers were there, we didn't even use microphones a lot of the time.
No.
Because of the natural acoustics.
Yeah.
So it's a really great space. Got to get back over there.
And you did, they have an amazing open mic now on Wednesdays now that's really popular and great singers and stuff like that. And it's great that that's where you started in some ways.
Yeah.
And I just remember when I met you, I thought, wow, this guy's like, you had a lot, like, I could just tell you just had a lot of living in you, and I always kind of wanted to get to know you a little more.
Yeah, well, I certainly been all over the map. I've had a lot of different things going on at different times, sometimes for better and for worse.
Yeah.
But it was actually interesting after we did meet. I started following you on Facebook as well, following some of your comedy and acting. You do acting as well, or is it more comedy?
More comedy, but I'd like to think it's acting as well.
Yeah. So, and it intrigued me about you. I wanted to ask you today about some acting stuff as well, because one of the things I'm always trying to do things a little better, like find a little edge on whatever.
You have an acting career planned?
No, I just want to be able. I want to be able to increase my performance on stage and be able to bring some awareness to that side of it, not just the singing. So
like theatrical.
The theatrical. Well, maybe get up there and put on a mask and headbang.
That's real theatrical. I didn't know you're going in that direction.
We'll see.
Sure.
I'm open. I'm open to see, but I find that when you find really great actors, they just have this presence on stage. They own it in a way that a lot of people can't.
Yeah.
And I think that's because of this. Like they learned that specifically as a skill.
Yeah.
And I haven't learned that part of the skill yet. So I thought that maybe you could give me some insight on
that. I was fooled because when I first saw you, I thought, wow, you have like this rock guy swagger. I think that's why I was nervous to talk to you, because I was like, I thought, well, I don't want to sound horrible, but if I looked like you in that, I might act a little douchey in that or like be, but you were so personable, and I that's where I think people's attractivenesses are.
I've had a lot of years of douchiness. I had to get it out of my system.
I wasn't calling you a douche.
No, but I definitely have. I've had phases of life where,
I think we all have.
Drink a little too much, party a little bit too much, be a little, insensitive in the way you carry yourself, and people who've been around and been hammered with good times and bad times, you sort of work it out in the wash, I think.
Yeah.
And so I've been in the washing machine for a while, and the dryer, and then the...
Well, I think, I don't want to get really deep right now starting. We can do that later. But I think you're always growing. I think on your final day, you should still be learning and growing, I think.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think you should ever be done. I think nowadays, too many people think, okay, I'm finished.
It's unfortunate. It really is.
It is. I totally cannot get that philosophy. But I've met people younger than me who feel like, yeah, I don't need anything more. I think, I'm older guy. I'm always looking for something different.
I always think there's a big difference between life and a living death. And I think as soon as that growth stops, you enter into that living death. Living death period where, you wake up in the morning and everything is just kind of pushed pause on, like your growth is just non-existent. And so, for me, whether it's a singing voice, whether it's adding another word to your vocabulary, whether it's getting your spirituality a little bit deeper, or finding a little bit better partner in life, or friendships, or travel, or art, or music, or you could go down the list. I literally have hundreds and hundreds of goals that I've written out over the years.
And I don't think you need to travel even for that, because just meeting someone new that's in a different lifestyle or a different country or a different age. Like, I have friends all different ages, and I think I learn from that. Seniors, I have best friends that are in their, teens and 20s, and I learn from them just as much as, anything. So
I think one of the most underrated or undervalued aspects that people aren't taking advantage of now, you mentioned seniors. And seniors have played it sounds really quirky and fucking weird to say that seniors have played a big role in my life. But in a lot of the other cultures and traditions, the seniors are revered. They're the elders, the wisdom. They're the people who complete the circle to the younger generation. Yeah. And I've had, one of the key people in my life who's been probably the biggest influence is Tom Schilling, and he's my vocal coach from Vocal Way Studios, and he's nearly 80 years old, and I've seen him almost every day for the last 7 years.
Nice.
And the underutilized part of the seniors is that we have so many seniors with so many different life experiences. Like, if you wanted to learn how to be a stockbroker, there's a senior out there that would love to just sit down with you every day and tell you everything about stockbroking.
Yeah.
And you would be providing the biggest valuable service to them, because maybe they don't have someone in their life that, to do that. And
that is so profound. I totally agree with that.
And I've been really fortunate to have a whole series of different people who are masters of what they've done, and they've just led these extraordinary lives who I've had, great access to, who have sat down, and the other part about it is being, open enough and willing to listen.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people just in one ear and out the other, and
for
whatever reason, I've just latched onto that. And I mean, some of the greatest growth financially, music-wise, as far as investments, real estate, all these different things that I'm passionate about, I've learned from other older generations who have helped me avoid some of these huge roadblocks and obstacles and train wreck disasters that I would have made if I would have went into it in the headspace that I currently am in, right? So I'm really fortunate and grateful to have met them and have them in my life.
Well, that's great. Let's go and get to know you, because some people don't know you. Where were you born and raised?
So I grew up in Smithville, out in the sticks, out in the boondocks. Kind of a farm kid. I was really fortunate because I had family in the city, so I wasn't too much of a hillbilly. I had got into the city a little bit, but I was still, dirt under my fingernails, grew up on the farm, running around. Yeah, you have a song, I believe, This Town, that speaks a lot of those. For sure, yeah. There's a lot of references. Beamsville, Beam City. You seem shocked that I remember your songs. I remember I was at an open mic and you saw me singing to one of them and you were trying to get me and I was so shy, no, I can't sing with you. You do it. You do some backups to get up here. So, but is it weird when you see people singing along to songs? No, it's it's totally enthralling. You write a song, you put your guts into it, and you sit around and you scratch out all the words and the mistakes, and you finally get this monstrosity together, and you go out a million times and you try it out, and then maybe some of them work and some of them don't, and then when you look out and somebody is actually, it's, the words and the melody have gone in and they've stuck and they've been remembered. It's a really gratifying and humbling experience, and you're really grateful for it. But that's how I perceive it anyway.
Are you close with your family?
I have a very close family. Since I moved to Hamilton, I don't get to see them as often as I've been working just like a maniac, so I don't see them as frequently, but everyone gets together regularly. Everyone's like, my grandmother bailed me out of jail. That's how close she is. She can put her.
There's nothing closer than family than getting bailed out of jail, right?
When you've got your grandmother, you got to picture like a Betty White, like the most innocent, bake you cookies grandmother, and she comes up. She
was right there.
And she comes up and she's I'm standing up there facing like a laundry list of all sorts of charges. They read out my charges for like 20 minutes of what I'm all these things, and she walks right up to the judge in the middle of like cuts the judge off, like walks from the back of the courtroom to the front, and she corrects the judge and tells him how to say my name correctly. And she does that to the judge. She says, "Excuse me, sir, you don't pronounce his name like that." It's like, and I'm sitting up there trying to look hard, like I'm tough and whatever. And then, like, my grandmother is just cracking me open inside. My family's been my rock for me.
So your crime years are part of your douchey thing?
Wow, I definitely was a lot. Who says my douchey years are over? I can still be douchey. I think we all can.
We all have our moments. I certainly can. Do you mind talking a little bit about that? How old were you when you got in trouble with the law?
Well, I was in my early 20s, so I'm 33 now. So that was a little while ago.
Always be older than you.
That's true. But
I'm not one of those seniors he was talking about, though. But I am up.
I am getting some wisdom from the senior co-host here. Yeah. But back then, I don't know. I was very different. I was very angry at that point in my life, and my mother had passed away suddenly, and I just wasn't really having a good time with how I was dealing with it. And so I got into selling drugs and doing a lot of really sketchy things.
I love that you're honest about it. Like, I watched a little YouTube thing with you, and you told me right off the bat, we can talk about anything. And
it's an open book. Yeah. Like, I honestly, those times are some of the best times of my life. Mm-hmm. The worst times are the best times if you learn from them.
I love that kind of honesty. Like, you knew it was a bad time, but you have highlights about them.
Oh, for sure. Like, there were times, like, everything, there's a saying, in 20 years we'll look back on this and laugh. Yeah. You might as well just start laughing about it now.
That's a good attitude.
You really should, because things just stacked up and they got really intense there for a little bit. Like, I was facing 5 years in prison for trafficking.
Were they afraid of your grandmother, and that's why?
Well, that's probably why I got such a light sentence.
Because you didn't wind up in jail.
No, that was part of the story. I was out on bail waiting for the sentence to be figured out. I was waiting for my court date to come up, and I was actually electrocuted to death.
Yeah, this part of the story, you never expect this. This is like one of those things
TSN turning point, right?
Yeah, this is part of it. Now, you were waiting to find out possibly 5 years. Yeah. And you actually died.
And I was dead, yeah. So I was working on a job site. There's wires, like electrical wires going into a chicken barn. And they were actually uncovered completely. There was no plastic on them. They were illegal. There was an illegal, I guess, the spacing between the posts. There was supposed to be a certain distance, and that wasn't correct. There was no covering on them, and when I walked around the side of the house carrying a ladder, it touched high voltage power lines, and I was the disconnect, and I short-circuited the whole chicken barn, and it blew the transformer on the street, and I woke up in the burn unit. So.
And you were legally dead.
They brought me back with defibrillators on site, so I had no heartbeat, and it was almost 5 minutes without breathing, no heartbeat, like I was done.
Wow.
And so I woke up.
Do you remember it?
I always joke with people and say I saw fire and brimstone and I was falling and it was hot and, but really it was nothing. I woke up in the burn unit and I was,
One thing I know, you always elaborate stories.
Oh,
that makes them interesting.
You gotta have a good time, right?
Yeah,
you gotta play with it a little bit. But that was kind of the punctuation, after that happened, like, they say that, a lot of people have these big life changes when a significant emotional event happens.
Yeah.
And so I lost my mother suddenly. Yeah. I wasn't expecting it. I was facing 5 years in prison, and I was thinking about what that was going to be like, which was a pretty significant emotional event.
Yeah.
And then I had to face the fact that I was dead. So I got hit with this triple 1-2 bam bam kind of punch.
How did the charges get dropped, or did they not get dropped? Or?
What ended up happening? The charges didn't get dropped. I got convicted of. I had like 18 charges against me, and what ended up happening was because of the electrocution, and because I had the air to my air was shut off for 5 minutes. I wasn't breathing for almost 5 minutes. I had all this whole host of health problems afterwards. I had vertigo. I was having like spaciness. I had short-term memory loss. I was all like dizzy and throwing up. And so my lawyer went to the courts and said, listen, this guy isn't, it's not suitable. We have to do tests on him. He could have had brain damage because of like most people, 5 minutes, no air.
Yeah.
You're a vegetable.
That's it.
You're done. You're finished, right? Your brain activity is going to be severely hindered. So we did all the testing, and there was conclusive medical evidence that there was some serious problems going on. So because of that, I ended up getting a 24-month house arrest sentence instead of going to prison. And that was kind of where everything turned around, because I was, sequestered kind of away by myself.
Yeah.
All the people, you'd mentioned as we were talking just earlier, you said, you find out in those dark times who your friends are.
They abandon you or something.
All my friends, they didn't want to go to jail. They were all involved in drugs and crime and everything too, and they just scattered.
Yeah, you tend to lose those friends.
See, check you later.
They're not going to come visit you with that,
so they were gone, and that, the best times is the worst times. I ended up, for the first few months on that house, I was climbing the walls. I was just drunk and high and just fucked up all the time. And I was so angry about all these things. And eventually I just got to a point where it was so intense, the anger and the negative feelings, I was like going to die or I had to change. It was just got to the point where I was going to lose my marbles. It was just such burning anger. And I decided to change. I ended up doing some community service hours, and it's a really funny story. There was I was sorting furniture and clothes, and just kind of getting my hours worked away. And there was at the back of this place called the Grimsby Benevolent Fund in Grimsby, downtown Grimsby. There's a spot where they do all the donations, right? And I was carrying all the stuff in, and this guy came and he dropped off this kind of box, and it had a set of those 1986 Tony Robbins self-improvement tapes, the old cassettes.
I think I have a couple of the books.
Personal Power, right?
Yeah.
And there was this miserable old son of a bitch that was volunteering there, this old guy, just a miserable old bastard. And I was working with him.
Yeah.
And he looked at the tapes as soon as his eyes locked on them, and he said something like, "Oh, those things obviously don't work, or they wouldn't be being donated." And he almost got me. I was so bored.
You almost bought into that.
I almost bought into his shittiness. He almost got his shitty claws into me.
Yeah.
But I was so bored, and I was climbing the walls at home. So I asked the lady there if it was okay if I bought those tapes, and she said, her name was Marion Thorpe, actually, really great lady. She's helped me out over the years. Really good friend of mine still to this day. And she said, "No, dear, take them home. You've had a rough go. Maybe you could use them. Maybe they help you out or whatever." So I took those things home, and I started listening to them because I had nothing else to do. I couldn't leave. And they give you this whole series of skills, basically neuro-linguistic programming, neuroassociative conditioning, self-hypnosis, all these different
that's intense.
These techniques. When you walk through this program, they're very, very simple techniques that anybody can use, and they show you how to change your limiting beliefs and how to discover what your values are, and all these things that really make a huge difference in your motivation and everything. So I got hooked on these things, and I just started listening to them on repeat. I was listening to them 4, 5, 6, 7 hours a day.
Wow.
I just
So
had nothing else to do.
Sink in eventually.
Yeah, so I was sitting there and listening to them, and then I started getting some books. I got books by like Robert T. Kiyosaki and Brian Tracy and Robert G. Allen and Keith Cunningham and Tony Robbins and Deepak Chopra.
It's great that you went towards positive.
Well, I had no choice because
yeah.
my life at that time was so negative. Like, you know, probably, like, just to give you everyone thinks that they're doing really stupid shit, but I remember a time where I was driving down the street. This is when I was, like, right whacked out on drugs. I remember driving down the street, hanging out the window of a car, shooting Roman candles at gas stations. Like, I was completely out of control. Like, I needed an intervention bad, and it happened, and it was the best thing that happened. I was doing some really crazy stuff.
Jay, your intervention involves not only getting arrested, but death. Good Lord, that's a hell of a intervention.
You know what? Those are fortunately, like, those are the best teachers. Like, death is a teacher that you learn very quickly from.
Do you think that, what do you think would have happened if you didn't have that life-death experience?
Well,
I know it's hard to guess.
Coulda, shoulda.
Yeah, I know, but do you think you would have found the path that you were on now, or do you think...
There's absolutely... No, because I'm such a stubborn... The good thing is that I've made a lot of positive choices now. I'm really trying to get... No, I'm not perfect. I still have stuff I'm working on, right? Yeah. Like everybody.
Perfect people scare me.
Yeah,
because they usually aren't.
They're usually really good at hiding how imperfect they are, right?
Yeah.
But I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at today. Like that whole going through that, arrest really scared the shit out of me. Like, I was a 20-year-old kid, and they were saying that I could be sent to where Bernardo is being held.
Yeah.
And like that was like oh, you think you're tough, or you think you're whatever in some small little shitty town.
Yeah.
Now you're going to big boy jail, and that scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And it was exactly what I needed. And fortunately for the judge, not for the judge, but fortunately for me, the judge, took the medical condition and all of the challenges I was having into consideration and gave me that house arrest sentence. And I wrote the judge a letter thanking him afterwards and giving him an update as to the positive changes I made.
Excellent.
Because I'm sure he hears it all the time. Oh yeah, I'm going to straighten it out, and then it goes right back. So I think it's really important to acknowledge those things.
Now, were you musically inclined before?
From what I heard, I'm still not musically inclined.
No, I know, but I get the feeling you got more into the guitar during your house arrest kind of thing.
I was actually a drummer.
Were you?
So I had in my bio. It's funny because when I was selling drugs, this one guy couldn't pay me, and I kind of repossessed his drum kit.
Is that how you became a drummer?
That's what I got. It was a red Westbury drum kit, and I had that in the basement. I used to just slam away. Like, I was a shitty drummer. I'm still a shitty drummer, but that's where I started. And then I don't know. All the girls in high school liked it when you started singing, so that's what I'm going to do. Do that. So I picked up the guitar.
I love good shallow reasons to do things.
That's usually when there's, I think it was J.P. Morgan that said, there's always two reasons people do things.
Yeah.
One is the reason it sounds good, and the other is the real reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's just get to the real reason, right?
All right. Believe it or not, our first half is done. I could sit and listen to you for hours. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to talk music with
Sounds
you.
good.
I want to know more of your stories with music and stuff. So we'll be back with Jason Lambert. Like I've seen. All right, we're back. I'm here with my co-host tonight, Jason Lambert, and I'm having a great time. I like doing this because I get a chance to, meet people that I'm always fascinated with, and hopefully we'll become even better friends.
Yeah, for sure.
And I definitely have to come out and see you perform live. Like, I've seen you at open mics, but...
Well, the Diego Deville setup with Edward Fernandez, we've got Rob Weir and Junior Clark. That configuration of guys has a really unique sound, a really cool sound.
Yeah, what was it? What do you call it?
Modern hillbilly rock.
Modern hillbilly rock.
We figure it's kind of like Jimi Hendrix meets Sublime, Kid Rock meets Lynyrd Skynyrd meets Stevie Ray Vaughan, something like that.
Yeah, it's got a nice feel to it, and I love. Am I saying it right when I say Diego Deville?
Diego Deville.
Diego Deville. Because when I heard that you were putting this together, I know this is what you always wanted. Because I watched the little Cable 14 thing you did.
Oh, that was way back.
Yeah, you were very young, but that's how I remember you. And I remember you said that you, and I totally related to this. You said you didn't have a band right now because of the unreliability of people. And I know what that's like. That's why I started doing monologue shows, because sometimes it's hard to find, like, you want to do shows with all these people and then getting schedules together.
Well, in retrospect, looking back at that comment, and I see what my talent level was at the time, I'm starting to understand why people were not showing up for practices and things.
Are you saying it was you?
So it may have been it may have been sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy, but
But I like that you had that confidence about you. You just had that.
Just didn't have the competence.
Yeah. Do you feel like you come off to me as a confident person? Do you have moments where you don't feel very confident or shy, or because you don't come off like that at all?
It's weird. I live in crippling self-doubt a lot of the time.
Crippling self-doubt?
Oh, for sure.
Not just regular
Not just that regular stuff. Like, really, really, like, introspective, like, just wanting to tear it all down and do something else.
Okay.
Like, in this really intense self-doubt, I'm really good at, even when that's happening, I'm still good at being even-keeled. It doesn't mean that I'm not experiencing it inside, like, because I do feel like I'm very confident. I absolutely am confident in most of the things that I do, but it's like a questioning, an internal, like, a doubt, like, is this right? Can it be better? Yeah. How do I improve this? And
but that's like, a good thing. That's a good quality.
It's definitely as good, and it leads to growth, but it definitely shakes your nerves a lot of the time. Yeah. And I think that, I've had a few points over the years where I've got to meet some really successful, musicians and people that have done some pretty cool things, artistically. And in their honest moments, I look at them and I hold them up on this pedestal and say, "Oh, you're great. You just come here. Every show is perfect and you're the best, right?" And they're like, "Man, like, really, it's just an illusion. Like, it's something that is a persona. It's like a character. Like, when you jump on stage and you do your characters, it's a character, and that character is confident, and the real person behind it, like all people, have their doubts, and the more competence you develop, the more confidence you have. Yeah. You can go to, like, a teacher, or you can go to someone and they can pump up your confidence, and they can, inflate your ego and make you feel like $1 million. But unless that competence rises to meet the level that you're trying to get to, you're only as good as the people you're comparing yourself to.
Yeah.
So if you're comparing yourself to the best people who ever lived, you're going to put a lot more stress on yourself than if you're comparing yourself to Joe, the drummer who lives next door that plays once a month.
Yeah.
So I think you have to figure out what it is you want. You have to decide what that is really very specifically. And you need to find role models that are going to get you there, like teachers, coaches. And I think that's one thing in music that we're really missing now, is that the electronic side of music has brought a lot of really great advances, with going in certain directions, but it's also, in a way, eroded away from the skill level where people used to go and train for Broadway and for, classical singing careers for 15 or 20 years before they ever really even had a career. Now they throw it through a microphone and they crank some reverb on it. If they want the highs higher, they tweak the highs. If they want the lows lower, they make it lower. They auto-tune it. They put callbacks and delays. And it's not even the person singing anymore. Yeah. So in certain ways, the music and technology has helped it for sure. Like, I love electronic music in a lot of ways. Yeah. But the human side of it, that just raw, there's a rawness to it, but that rawness has to be shaped and it has to be directed. And, few singers and few musicians are really spending the time, I find in pop music anyway, to really hone it. And if they can do it without it, then, good for them. I'm not one of those people.
At least you admit to it.
So I really gotta sit and put the time in and I can't cheat the system. Maybe if I could, I would, but I really sit down and I practice and rehearse and I work with my vocal coach. Like, there was a time I was going to see him 10 times a week.
Wow.
I was going twice a day, 5 days a week, and I was just such a horrible singer. I was brutal that I needed to put in that time to overcome what it was. And slowly but surely, it's like, it didn't sound to me like there was much of an improvement, but I was just so sold on Tom. Like, he had such, this guy's he's just such a master at what he does. He lived in New York for 40 years, had a studio there.
Wow.
Taught all people from Broadway and from Lincoln Center, and he is just such a fantastic human being. I'm one of the closest people in my life to him.
Awesome.
He's such an inspiring person, and I'm kind of getting this old school approach of how they used to do it, like for traditional bel canto.
That's awesome.
And I'm not looking to be an opera singer or anything like that. But when you learn how the voice works properly and you gain that competence that goes along with it, your confidence slowly comes, and it's a long process. The changes are happening internally, and you don't see them externally. And you have to educate the singer, not train the voice. And for me, it's been like it's changed every area of my life. It's not just like crank out some notes. This is like really, really changing the inner workings of how you feel and how you experience the world and stuff like that.
How did the group get together? Diego, am I saying it right now? Diego Deville? I'm still saying it the wrong way, aren't I?
No, you got it.
Oh, did I get it? Okay.
Diego Deville.
How did this group come together?
Well, Edward Fernandez and I started the group about 4 or 5 years ago. We started just as kind of a duet. And Rob Weir came in and started playing drums for us originally, and now he plays bass guitar. And Junior Clark has kind of been the last member that we've added in the last year or so. And he is just a fantastic drummer. He is, man, he's top notch in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm a little biased because he's in my band.
Yeah, I know,
but his playing,
you can't promote the guys in your band. There you go.
And same thing with Edward Fernandez. Rob is amazing too. Like, these guys all come from different backgrounds. It's weird. Like Edward is kind of like a really deep kind of blues and rock guy. Like, he was really like so many different influences, but definitely like a Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix kind of feel, Slash for his guitar soloing. Yeah. But he sounds like his playing sounds so free and bluesy, like an 80-year-old black man that lived through slavery or something. He's got such feel. And then
that's awesome. That's a great description. I love it.
He's just got this thing about him that I haven't. You hear a lot of great guitar players, but he's got his thing, and I really like it. Junior Clark is man, he plays like funk and soul and like kind of gospel-y kind of feel to it too, but rock. And
I always love musicians that have like all different kinds of music.
Yeah. And
can find like the brilliance and like even the strangest style of music and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And he could play anything, but he's got such good groove. And same thing with Rob. Rob's played drums. He knows the whole rhythm section thing. He understands it from so many different perspectives.
Yeah.
So he comes from kind of a metal background and like a hard punk rock background. Junior comes kind of like from a gospel-y, churchy background, with like kind of jazz and kind of fusion kind of. And Eddie's like this blues guy, and then I'm kind of like this weird kind of pop, kind of like bubblegum, like I listen to like Blink-182 and Nirvana and Sublime. And
do you play guitar in it as well?
I play guitar, not in the Diego Deville so much. I play it a little bit, but it's hard to keep up with Eddie. Like he does his thing.
So you're just the front man, the singer.
I sing and I do most of the writing.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to ask you that because I, as I said, I was a big fan of your writing when you were doing it solo. I was wondering if you guys work together, if you do the majority of it, because I still feel your essence is in it.
I write all the lyrics. I do a lot of the arrangements too. Eddie comes up with these crazy guitar parts and these crazy progressions. Like, he's got such a talent for guitar. Like, it's like he's got 3 extra fingers on every hand, and he puts these really, beautiful rocky riffs together. So he writes, he's co-wrote, a lot of those songs. When you hear them and you hear the real, you'll know the stuff that he wrote. It's pretty evident. So it's mostly the two of us, but I do the songwriting.
You have just the one album up?
I have the one album out for Diego Deville, and
Yeah.
I've got a couple kind of solo things I'm kind of trying to put under the rug and forget about that I've done in the past. But
I'm okay to play mine still.
Oh, for sure. Play whatever you want. Let me ask you. Let me kind of switch it for a second.
Sure.
What do you think is the best way to gain, as I'm always looking to learn, to gain, a proper mastery of the stage? For just being aware of how your body language is communicating with the audience, and how you're projecting yourself with confidence, and how you can really connect from a physical standpoint without using, your voice is one aspect.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to play I don't know what you're talking about, but I'll be honest, when I do my Devlin monologues, it's just me and the audience. And it's really powerful when you know that, they're laughing with you. You can see people cheering up and you also know that moment. I'm not trying to be conceited, but you know that moment when you've got them all. What I try to do is and you might know that I try to not, concentrate on all over, find little areas, people in the audience and stuff like that, and try to almost make it feel like you're just talking with them. Like you're just performing for them. It's hard to do, but I just try to command it. So when you really look out in the audience, you just look at that person. Then when you move to other people, those other people are still with you because it's more personal that way. I think some people come out and just try to perform to the whole thing. I try to make it intimate. Am I making any sense to you?
See, I have an understanding of the stage from two perspectives.
Yeah.
One is just a guy with a guitar, and the other's like a rock band that's blazing, trying to burn the house down.
Yeah, I was watching some of your moves. I was on YouTube watching some of your
I probably stole it off somebody else off YouTube, to be honest.
No, I loved it, and I like that you're developing as that. But
I'm still trying to find who I am on stage, and that's for a while I was this acoustic guy, which I think
I was about to say, but you got to hide behind that guitar too, right?
Which makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
When you're up there just singing, and that's just the microphone and you singing, it totally changes the dynamic. And I find that that's where I feel like my growth, some growth really needs to happen there for me, for where I'd like to see it.
As I said, when I first saw you, I felt you had a bit of a swagger. You're just maybe having a hard time finding that on stage.
Well, I'm finding it, I feel like I got swagger. I just got it
See, yeah.
It's I guess it's kind of comes from a point of not knowing exactly, not finding your,
See, now I want to come to one of your concerts, and I'm going to just be concentrating on what's he talking about. I think he's. But
I'm very good at faking it on stage. I'm very good.
I'm not saying you fake it. I'm just saying that I'm intrigued. I'm honored that you would ask me about that. I don't know if it's different, but when I'm on stage, I just like to try to perform the smaller things. But I've got this kind of new philosophy in life where I'm just not really caring as much as what people think of me. And that's kind of helping me just starting to find myself a little bit. And I'm at the point where I should know myself, but I think you and I talked about we'll always be searching for something.
Shining the flashlight around different spots.
And I think you're just going to keep going and trying to find that side of you.
I think...
Have you ever done something on stage that you said, "Oh, I'm never doing that again. That was too."
For sure.
I tried to do something that maybe you saw somebody else do once, and it just did not feel like me.
Well, it's funny you say that because it's weird because in every situation, when you have the acoustic guitar, and it's more of an intimate kind of that's almost like a spoken word thing. It's really intimate.
Yeah. Just
playing a quiet guitar and you're singing these songs. I found that I've connected really well with that. But when you get up onto the stage with the rock band, it's almost like the audience expects you to be this rock god who's in control of the whole room and is bigger than life, and it's like I'm having a hard time finding that inflated. Like the old me that was selling drugs and being an asshole was always running around an inflated part of myself.
Yeah.
And it's funny that.
Do you want that again? Is that what you want?
No, I really don't. And I think.
But not all of it. But do you want to find that inflated?
I do.
Thing?
Without all the
without the drama
and
because that's what you need to tap into. But you got to watch the negative doesn't go there.
And maybe that's. I think we may have just uncovered a little rock here. Maybe the reason I've been avoiding that is because I've had a lot of negative experiences in that in the past.
Well, maybe you think it.
And so
when you think of that, that's what comes to
up,
mind,
right? But I think when I'm out there, one of the, like you said, have I tried something before? The one thing that I find in a rock band that never ever works is if you're rapport seeking. Like you're like, oh hey, how's it going? Let's do this together.
Yeah.
They're like, you fucking loser, get off the stage, boo, right? And then you go out there and you tell everybody to fuck off, and they fall in love with you.
Yeah.
And it's like that's the thing that I have a hard time because that doesn't come natural to me anymore. That used to be like my go-to.
Yeah.
And now I just
you don't want to tell.
Now I'm like, oh, do I really got to tell these guys to fuck off and get in their face? Like
that's Jay's thing. That's Jay's thing.
If I have to, I will. Like it's still in there, but it's just like, it doesn't come natural.
Maybe you need to release the demon, but control it. Like, am I being too dark here? But
let the demon out of the cage, but keep him on a leash or something.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'm going to come to one of your shows. I'm going to concentrate on your demon. And then I will, if you're okay with that, I'll tell you what I saw on that stage.
Please do.
And I'll watch the YouTube ones too a little bit because you have some live performances.
We've been slowly trying to crop them down, take them off YouTube. Because,
are you trying to?
Because we're looking at getting a lot of the stuff was from 4 or 5 years ago when we were we're really just getting started out, and so again we're looking to get some more professional gigs and start doing some touring. So we got some guys.
Yeah, you guys are starting to get big. You're making a name for yourself right now.
I don't know. Like we've played a couple of shows in Toronto and a couple of shows around Hamilton. So we're just the way we're looking at it is just trying to do every day, just do a little bit more, and wherever that goes, I would like to obviously make it a full-time thing and tour. And I'm making all of the decisions in my life as if that is the inevitability.
Awesome.
So I'm financially, I'm planning for it. I'm setting my time and schedules up for it. The vocal lessons and the guitar rehearsals and the training and the goal sessions and the writing sessions.
Yeah, well, if you need me for demon sessions,
we might have to exercise some demons, right?
Yeah, I'll teach you my swagger on stage. But I'd love to.
What else you got? Like, did you take acting lessons? Did you go and...
I did not take acting lessons. I did a little acting in high school. Yeah. Then I stopped doing it. Then I tried improv later in life. And all I know is, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, is a lot of people told me that I was kind of a natural. Like, I went into... And it was very surprising to me because I took improv because I was trying to overcome my shyness.
Okay.
And they basically were like, No, you seem to have something there. Like, when you're on stage, you get into the characters. You're not yourself. Mm-hmm. And then as I started doing my own shows, I had to learn to promote myself. So I tried to push myself to like when I'm in a place where I'm meeting new people. Instead of hiding in the corner now, I actually try to put myself out there because like you say, you learn from people.
For sure.
Like I told you, I took me a couple times seeing you to just go over and say, "Hi, Jason, I really like your stuff." And even at that point, I was so nervous that you'd be like, "Yeah, thanks," no. But when you do that, what's the end result? You were really sweet to me. You gave me a CD. I said, "Where can I buy it?" "I'll just give it to you. You have one in the car." And I said, "That's awesome," and stuff. And you put something out, person gives back. It's a two-way street.
For sure.
Thing. And, I never learned acting. It's just...
So
I acted a lot in my life, does that make sense? Because, my whole thing with life, and I don't want to get into my deep life because these people have heard it already, but you might not know, is that in my 20s, I was a mess. I was in a dark period. I was trying to be everything everybody wanted me to be.
That's a recipe for disaster right there.
It almost got me killed. It almost killed me. And then finally, when I started improv and stuff, I said, I can't do that anymore. So in some ways, I think I was acting all my life.
You're training your whole life there.
Yeah, and as I said, I don't like to be conceited, but when I do the monologue shows, I always know when I have the audience. And, maybe it's a different swagger than having to do, moves on stage with I only do those in private when I'm rocking out to stuff, but I wouldn't offer them to anyone. But I know for me what works for me. Like it's like you say, some people try too hard on stage, and you feel it's fake. And then you see people you see old Mick Jagger or Prince or whatever, and you just know they're just fucking doing whatever they feel like, or this is me, I don't care. People don't, and people like that. But other people, it's just so forced that you're just you cringe, oh, just keep singing,
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I'm honored that you'd ask me that, because
I'm always asking. I think one of the things that changed, at some point, I don't know when it was, but instead of always thinking that I had the answer to everything, I always thought I knew everything, and then. I had arrived, and I don't, again, press pause.
And we believed we are the first people who've gone through these problems. We don't even imagine there's a whole world.
Well, you start reading back through the history books, and you start seeing for thousands of years these different people had every single problem that's ever existed has been had and solved. And you start seeing, you get a little bit more perspective from life, and I think that whole depth as a teacher gives you some of that perspective. But at some point I flipped it, and I've gone in and done open mics, and I'll go up and I'll do a thing, and it goes pretty good or whatever. And then it looks like somebody who's more of an amateur or just starting. I feel like I'm an amateur all the time, but somebody that's really, really new to the to the open mic stage gets up.
Was it weird when I described to you I saw so much in you in that first time?
No, I feel like I have times where I go out there and I feel like I just kill it. It's I feel like I could take any stage in the world, and then the very next night or even the same night I could go to another open mic and feel like I haven't even played in my life before. Wow. It's just such a diametrically opposed experience, your experience of it. But you end up talking with somebody who's just really getting their feet wet for the first time, and I'm like, oh, I really like this thing that you did, whatever. It was a chord that they played or a joke that they told in between, and even though they're just like fledgling, they're looking at me like I'm asking them how they did it, and they're similar to what you said. They're looking at me like I know everything, or I've been around the block, or I'm a veteran, or so experienced, and I'm always trying to uncover some little thing to make it better.
That's good.
And it comes from everyone. You just got to be out there. You got to play a lot. You have to read a lot. You have to study a lot. Read from books. Read about how the old masters, Mick Jagger and Prince and all those guys, get their biographies. Read what they did.
Yeah.
Put that in your imagination.
I'm not even a musician, and that works for me. I love biographies of lots of different
people. You see a stand-up comedian, ask what they do.
Yeah.
You see somebody that's podcasting, how you do that. Oh, I like how you introduce that. Steal a little bit from everybody. Yeah,
even if you just get little bits and pieces, and then eventually you make your own self.
Because there was that guy. His name escapes me right now. It was that guy, that English guy.
That important English guy.
So important, I can't remember.
Promote the album before you think about it.
Okay. Well, the album is Crack Shack Bottle Service.
I love that name.
It's one of those things, kind of like that. We like. I've always been really, really inspired by. There's a Tom Waits quote that said, "I love beautiful melodies telling me horrible things."
That's lovely. That's a great line.
It's a really great thing. So Crack Shack Bottle Service is this, two ideas. You think some drug den.
Yeah.
Having beautiful bottle service.
Well, I like it because it's very imagery, but it can be taken on different levels.
And we mean it on a lot of different levels, right? So that it's up, actually, Crack Shack Bottle Service is up for Hamilton Music Award this year.
Awesome. When do you find out if you win?
Well, we find out on, I believe, May the 28th. We're playing at the Corktown on May the 28th as part of the showcase for the Hamilton Music Awards. So that'll be...
all promotions that are before we air this, so that's great. It's good.
So that'll be coming up. So we find out we're up against like Monster Truck and Finger 11, and we were like, oh, we're gonna get slaughtered.
But I start seeing your name more and more out when I look at the View magazine and stuff. Like that's me. That's success for me. You're in the View magazine. That's a start.
That
right?
was huge for us too. Like I actually have the very first cutting of us of when we played in. That was featured in the View magazine out of the calendar section. I cut it out and I glued it into my journal, and I was like glowing for like a week.
I know, it's great. Like I remember somebody said you're in View magazine, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know. I post it, I promote it, and then my face was there, and it was weird, and I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Oh, it's great. I'll shower me in more of it. I'll take more of it.
We're gonna put links up to your music and stuff in your Facebook for the group.
For sure.
Promote. Where can people get the album? We're going to be playing snippets in between.
On the website, there's diegodeville.ca and jasonlambertlive.com. They both link to the same website. Okay. So there's just a Diego Deville section on there. If you hit me up on the website, I'll make sure I get one to you. I can either mail it out to you or I can meet up with you. I do everything sort of.
Yeah, I know. I like that you do
off.
that. But when you're a big star, will you be able to do that?
I'll still see what I can do.
All right, we've wrapped up. We've gone a little over, but I don't care. I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
And I hope you are too.
I had a great time. Or is this the end
we
of
have
the
another
session?
set.
We got a whole other.
Are you okay with it?
I'm ready to rock.
All right, we're going to talk some deeper thoughts, because I know you're a deep thinker, so we'll get to that. I am back, and I'm here with my co-host, Jason Lambert.
Hey.
And I'm so glad you're here, and I'm very happy that I did take the time to say I really liked your stuff. Because who would have thought a couple of years later we'd be talking like this?
Absolutely. It's usually those funny little things. It's like those little things could really take you in a whole other direction. You know, if you didn't have a conversation or you didn't make that one connection, or you could be going somewhere totally different.
What I love about meeting people is, like, probably when people are listening to this, they think, oh, they must have known each other forever. And we've probably talked a few times, mostly online, like through notes and stuff like that.
Yeah, a couple times.
But this is like the longest we've ever talked, and I feel it's very natural. Like I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But I feel like I've known you for a long time, or like.
I feel the same way. Like I've been following you on Facebook, and I've been seeing like.
I apologize for it.
You have some crazy photos that you post once in a while, which is good. It's good. You got to keep it interesting.
Absolutely.
You got to have fun.
Now, one thing that you also found, you have a deep spirituality. You're talking about Facebook, and what I like is you post a lot of different things. But you could have a philosopher one minute, and I think you've had Mae West up there. I love that it doesn't matter where you find things. If you find it, and I feel that when you post it, like, I feel sometimes people post things on Facebook, and I don't think they read it. Because I think that doesn't seem like that person, or maybe they should read that a couple times, because they're not doing that in their life. But when I see your stuff, I think you buy into it. I think it's something that, if it's meaningful to you, that's why I'm posting it, kind of thing.
I find, like, I don't know, I'm not a religious person, but I've got, there was this quote. I'm like a quote guy. I don't know if you noticed. I'm like like getting into quotes.
Quotes are good.
I think it was I don't know. It's another one of those unnamed individuals. I can't. Some Englishman from some time. But I had a quote about the negative capability.
Okay.
And what the negative capability is where you can get involved in a conversation with sort of negating your own personal views about something. Okay. So like a lot of the times, like in the past, when I was in anger mode, if people would bring up religion or whatever, I would just turn off. I just didn't want to hear it. Or if it was something that didn't directly affect, like I had a belief or a view, I might be for it or against it, or as soon as something would conflict with what my internal wiring was, I would just reject it.
Yeah, I have moments like that too that I try to get out of. Yeah,
and it's a really difficult thing. And this poet, or I don't know if it was Keats or who it was, but they proposed this concept of the negative capability, and that allows you to indulge or entertain or dive into other like cultures, other religions, other sexuality, different like anything that these taboo things that people usually get their back up against.
Yeah.
And you can be there, and you can view it and you can dig into it without negating it, without saying that it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
And I found that when you're able to do that more, and it's like obviously I'm not, I'm not a master at anything. I'm just kind of like a student that's just kind of trying to be a little bit better at things. But when you do that, all of a sudden you can go into like different religions and you can say, this works for me and the rest is shit, and I throw it away. Yeah. And I'm going to take this one little thing that works for me, and I'm going to, somehow that's part of my, like a Boy Scout badge. It's a badge that goes on, and that's me now.
Yeah.
And you go into Buddhism or something like that, and you find a meditation practice that works for you, and you kind of pick and choose a la carte of these different things. So I wouldn't say I'm religious or like spiritual. Yeah. I do a lot of yoga.
Yeah. And that's huge spiritual, right?
Well, I think it's what you bring to it.
Yeah.
And the reason for me doing it is that it's time for myself where I can relax, where I can unwind, I can clear my mind, I can get a good sweat on. You go into some of these classes, and some of them are like, it's like boot camp, crazy training, like you couldn't put your body through anything more difficult. And there's other ones where they're so difficult because you don't move for an hour and you literally just breathe, and it's like a different kind of difficulty, so you challenge yourself in a lot of different ways.
Do you think people go to negative because it's easier to be negative?
Oh, for sure.
Because it is hard to be positive, is it not?
It's whatever. Here's the thing. Here's the rub on that. Is that people go to wherever they're most familiar.
Yeah.
So the grass isn't greener on the other side of the fence. The grass is greener where it's watered. So if you water what's the song lyric? I wrote it. It's one of the Diego Deville song lyrics.
Okay.
But the grass, like, so if you just water the negative all the time, that's where it's going to be green.
Yeah.
And then you go, is it harder to? It's not harder to water the positive.
Yeah.
It's just you get that groove in your brain that goes to that negative where it's just automatic, like your subconscious just goes there. And you have to, like, it takes a Herculean effort. It can be done. Like, I used to be the biggest pessimist. I was, like, raging, angry, like, punching holes in walls and throwing shit downstairs, like, every day, all day. And you just get to the point where you gotta, like, for me, I had to, like, change or literally die. Like, I was emotionally, physically, like, my freedom was dying, my finances were dying, everything was burning down, and I had no other choice. I was clinically dead for 5 minutes. I was facing prison sentence. My mother had died, who was a huge influence in my life. I was totally lost. I was addicted to alcohol and drugs, and everything was like, I could have fallen a lot farther too. Like, I wasn't at rock bottom. I had family that was really, really supportive, but I had to make that change. And when I did, it took many, many years. Now my mind just goes to the positive no matter what. Like, always.
Do you have your negative moments, though?
It's not that they don't happen. It's just that you don't stay there.
Yeah.
Like, all of a sudden, my one tenant, I have a tenant that I rent my place out to downstairs, and I saw him the other day, and he goes, is everything okay upstairs yesterday? And I was like, well, why? What do you mean? He goes, well, I heard like a loud thud, and then I just heard somebody yelling, motherfucker, fuck, like screaming at the top of their lungs. I was like, oh yeah, that was me. Everything was good. I was just getting it out.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I do that, I'm like, I look in the mirror, I start laughing. I'm like, you're an idiot. And then, but there's not a negative charge. I don't carry around a negative charge all day about it.
Yeah, you don't wear it.
It comes out. I'm like, oh, that was stupid. And then I just move on. And it's just getting back to that place where you feel good. And it's a skill. It's like any other skill. It's like painting a fence. It's like riding a bike or, learning how to sing. It's a skill that there's very specific steps, and there's like books and audio tapes and all kinds of things that tell you exactly what to do, and you just got to do it.
Yeah.
So it's just finding the motivation, finding the reasons why you're going to do it. For me, the reasons were because my life was burning down and I had all this free time. I just started gorging on audiobooks and books and reading and seminars and everything. And you can, if you make a point of finding the answers to those questions, you can find them, you can literally change it in a heartbeat.
I know we're talking spirituality, but I'm going to throw it a different spot. What is a skill or something that would probably shock me that you have? that maybe people don't know that you do?
I've I've actually really found a flair for decorating.
Okay, like apartments and rooms.
Well, like again, I just kind of steal stuff. I do construction sales during the day.
Yeah.
And I like to have a nice place, right? And so like I've got like books on like New York style Soho lofts and things like that. I have a very I like old castle type, like Parisian castle decor, like Marseille and stuff like that.
That's cool.
But also like with a touch of like modern, like, you know, like boutique kind of stuff. You know, people come over to my place and they're like, "Who decorated this room?" I'm like, I did it.
I think I've seen it through pictures and rooms. Like I've seen.
Sometime when you're down in the West End, I'm renovating right now, so we're ripping everything apart, putting in new pot lights, a new kitchen, and flooring, and changing the layout, and spiral stairs. I got a staircase kind of like at the Staircase Theater.
That's awesome.
Which is pretty cool. But like again, it's like I've had people around in my life that were good at that type of thing. And I just kind of stole everything that they did and then claimed it as my own. And that's all you have to do. Is just steal.
But you give them credit for it. So I don't think that's paying tribute. That's an homage to them.
For sure.
And you're carrying their legacy, too.
Yeah.
So if something ever happens to them, God forbid,
Well, of course, I'll carry the decorating torch on. You know, whatever.
Well, I still, even in your decorating, I'm surprised you like that, because a lot of people are just, just put anything or whatever. But even you pick like castles and stuff, so you still kind of do the rock god thing. I know you don't like me calling you rock god.
I love it. That's fine. Don't get me wrong. I do identify with that, and that's kind of like the whole reason. Like when I was in my teens, I wanted to be like this rock star, and I just sucked at music. I was brutal. I couldn't sing. I couldn't play drums. I couldn't play guitar. I couldn't do anything. And then when I got into doing the personal development stuff, and a lot of those books, and some of the goal-setting exercises, this thing kept coming up over and over, where they would say, you know, if there was no chance of failure, if you could snap your fingers and have it any way you wanted, what would you do? Like, what would you do if money wasn't a factor to the time it would take, you know, to accomplish it wasn't a factor, if age wasn't a factor, if talent wasn't a factor, if any of these things weren't coming into play, if you want to be an astronaut, you want to be a business guy, you want to travel the world, or if you want to be an artist, you want to have a family, like, what do you want? And I kept saying, I want to be a musician. That's like in my mind, those are the people that I always idolized. Yeah. And like the rock gods, the Jim Morrisons, and, you know, guys like that. And it just didn't seem like it was a possibility. But then when you get working through a lot of these programs, you get into NLP, and you find out about role modeling, and you find out about changing your belief systems and eliminating your negative beliefs and anchoring positive events so that your mind starts going to the positive instead of the negative. It sounds all very new age, foo-foo-y shit.
It's good though. I need a lot more of that in my life. I'm trying to get there.
Well, you will get there. If you want it, you just got to do it.
Probably my body doesn't want it, but I do want it.
I went to a Tony Robbins fire walking seminar. I flew out to the University of British Columbia, and we walked on fire on the UBC football field, right where the BC Lions play. And it was like 2,000-degree burning hot coals, and 3,000 people to war drums playing in the background at like 1 a.m, walked across with bare feet across 20-foot-long fire lanes. And we didn't burn our feet. And it was like, it flips a switch in your head thinking, you know, if I just did this, and I thought that was impossible, what else, you know, can I do? And all these little things, you know, I came back from that seminar and I bought 5 rental units in 1 year after that with no money. I had no cash. I figured out how to do it. And there's very simple strategies on how you can.
I love that this is what I want, and then I work towards it.
And sometimes it takes like this musical. To be honest, like I feel like I've made huge strides in music, and I see, you know, look back and see the stuff, you know, I did 5 years, 2 years, you know, even a year ago, and it's always progressing. But I feel like it's so far from this vision I have in my head of where I want it to be.
Do you want to be like huge, or would you be happy?
I want to be
just
bigger
being
than Elvis.
Do you? You want to be that big?
Bigger than Elvis.
I think you could do it.
I'm going to do it. I'm absolutely going to do it.
I love that. I hope you remember me when you do.
One way or another. Like, again, I don't have an attachment to doing it a certain way. Like, maybe I become a music teacher in a really great way.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it too.
You know, maybe I become, you know, some sort of a, you know, helping other people get there. Maybe I do it myself. You know, I would just like to do something really, really, you know, something of substance that really is lasting and something that's fulfilling in music. And I'd like to do it in a really big way.
Well, that's amazing. I think you'll get there because you know you will.
I had a psychic tell me that I was going to get there, so. And then I paid her $80 that I owed her, and you know, took it with a grain of salt. So.
Oh no, that was totally true.
No, absolutely. Here's your $80, thanks.
So, what are the next stages for you? If you don't mind sharing that, unless you do.
Well, right now, the way that things are going,
touring. You said you wanted to.
Well, I'm actually taking a step back, kind of in a way, because we've been playing like cover band stuff, like sometimes 2, 3, 4 nights a week. You know, and playing in one town that many times just gets really exhausting.
Yeah.
So I'd like to step back, and I'd like to. I'm writing a new album right now. It's a solo thing, which is a totally different feel to it. It's kind of more like a jazzy kind of a jazz kind of a feel. My voice.
You're just gonna get your swagger on stage, and then you'll have to have the whole jazz thing now.
Well, that's what I think that exploration's happening right now. I've tried doing the acoustic thing. I really like that. I've tried to do the heavy rock and roll Rage Against the Machine kind of thing, and that's really tough on my voice. It's really hard to sing that for hours and hours and hours. It's tough. You know, I like to go. I've done some classical stuff. Like I really do love singing some of the old stuff, like singing Ave Maria and old the Italian songbook stuff like that. I really like. And then playing with kind of some jazz stuff, and I think just in the next couple of years, I'm going to find kind of that thing that is the thing. I don't know what it is. I'm still doing tons of lessons. I'm working on getting finances figured out so that I've got some businesses that I'm opening and like some real estate investments and things like that.
It's awesome that you're concentrating on the business aspect. You know that that's there. It's not like you're just, you know what I mean. It's like you've got your head in the clouds and. You've also, do you know what I'm saying? What I'm doing is it's totally a positive thing, yeah.
Any plan that doesn't take the financial aspect into effect or into account, if you make a plan and it doesn't have a financial aspect to it, it's a plan that's going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Because at some point, everybody likes to take the 1 in a million kind of scenario. They like to focus on the exception to the rule. So like, there's that one guy who. A million years ago, a record executive happened to be, in a cafe and heard him playing at open mic and whisked him away onto a plane and now he's a rock star.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Bullshit. Yeah, find me another one of those guys.
But we're in a generation that that's what people expect. Like YouTube sensations.
For every Bieber,
right.
There's a million starving musicians.
Right. And there's but it's like, American Idols and The Voices and stuff. They promise you instant success. And I think we have a generation that thinks it's that easy. I just have a reality show or something. But I love hearing you talk about working on stuff and that.
It's no joke. Like sometimes it's it literally is 80 or 90 hours a week. And it's not 1 week. I've been on this schedule for 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
Where it's been bone crushing. I had there was a time maybe 4 or 5 years ago where I've been so close to legitimate nervous breakdowns where it was I've worked so hard to build these things and tenants stop paying and they're taking me to court and I can see I can't pay the mortgages on these places and I'm working 70 hours a week and then taking my paycheck to pay for their mortgages on 3 houses that aren't paying or 5 houses that aren't paying.
Yeah.
I've lived in falling over buildings that were infested with rats and with fleas. I woke up and my contractor at this one house that I was living at, I moved out of a really nice house into this other investment property because I needed to get the income from my unit to be able to qualify for the loan. And one day my contractor comes in and he goes, I can't believe you're living here. This place is infested with fleas. And I looked at him, oh, fuck off. I wouldn't live here if there was fleas here. And he goes, I want to show you something. And he grabbed his broom and he sweeped a bunch of sawdust up into the floor, and you could see the fleas jumping in the sawdust. I took ripped my bed apart. I set it on fire, and took all my clothes and threw them out. And then there's rats in the place. And then I had another place that I bought as a rental and investment property where the tenant had an indoor shit room, where his animals shit in the house.
I was going to say, what the hell is it in there?
Where the animals literally shit in the house for almost 10 years without cleaning it. And when I had to evict him with the tribunal, and then I had to go in there with a biohazard thing on and shovel all this out. And I'm talking crazy stuff.
I'm about to say, no wonder you're leaning towards the positive now. You'd go crazy.
Oh, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. I've had tenants with face tattoos, threaten me, that getting into physical altercations, going into their place, finding heroin needles, stolen cash registers, tenants trying to jump me because I'm trying to pick the mail up and their stolen credit card scam cards are in the mail and they haven't paid me, so I'm holding the mail hostage. And I'm telling you, crazy stuff. But you just got to keep being positive. You got to keep moving forward, and you just got to. There's always a way to figure it out if you're committed enough.
That's incredible, and I love seeing your spirit like that. And I plan to follow your career and likewise, it goes. My career probably won't be that big. But
this podcast is going to take off and do some crazy stuff. There's going to be some.
Well, if you become big, and then I've done a podcast with you, we're good. But I'm trying stuff. Yeah.
I really enjoyed talking to you doing about all this stuff here. It's.
Well, I hope we're considered friends now, not just acquaintances.
For sure.
And I am definitely going to come. This is not words, so if you come and tell people that I do not come to a show, I'm going to come and watch your swagger.
All over the
yeah, you do that, because I'm going to watch, and then I will tell you what I think. Because I like that you asked me that. I appreciate that.
I just think that a lot of the things that we need to fix, or we need not even fix, but just little tweaks.
Yeah, it's not fix. It's a strong word. Yeah,
fix is kind of it's a bad word, but tweak or alter or augment.
Yeah.
Those things are really hard to see from your own vantage point. Sometimes you need somebody on the outside. Like Tiger Woods has got a golf coach who he can play golf way better than his coach, but he needs that outer perspective to see those little things that he can't see within himself.
Well, I have a friend who's he's later in life, but he's just starting a rap career. He's just trying to do a rap album. And
good on him.
I don't know a lot of rap. I like rap music, but I don't listen to it regularly. And he sends me stuff before it gets released and asks me, what do you think? As just a person who likes pop music or something. And then I send him stuff, and he's always thankful that I've listened to it. I'm honored that he's takes my word, and because I'm I don't know what good rap is. I just go with what I like. And so I tell him, I didn't like this, I like this, I like this, and I can't wait to have him on the show and promote him because he's...
What's his name?
He goes by the name, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, Hair, and he's just released some stuff, and I'm so proud of him. But I'm shocked when he, says, I love your thing, so I can't wait.
I think one of the things, too, is comedy's kind of a deceiving trait or a deceiving skill.
Yeah.
Because a lot of, to the untrained person, you could look at it as just cracking jokes or something like that.
Yeah.
But most of the comedians that I've really, there's such a deep level of introspection or a sensitivity or an awareness, and I think he probably sees that in you, and whether you know anything about rap music or not, he's probably just trying to get that perception or get that awareness that you can bring to it, and that's why I asked you.
I love that, and if I can bring anything light to anything, it's always a good thing.
Yeah.
Jason, we are out of time. I could have just talked to you forever.
All right, well, hey, thanks for having me as a co-host on the show. And,
absolutely, and you keep us up to date. Good luck with the award. We'll be listening.
Maybe we'll win, maybe not. We'll see. I'm just happy to be on that marquee. I see our name up with those other names, and those guys.
There's an award show too.
There is an award show.
You just enjoy that.
I will.
If I give you any, just because sometimes you miss these moments. Just while you're there, just take in everything. Just I don't have to tell you. You take on everything positive. Just enjoy it because it's those moments. You never know how they'll lead to. But
and again, I'm just you see those. You grow up listening to bands like Finger 11 and Monster Truck. There's some other really great bands.
And you're now on a
marquee with them, and it's a really cool feeling. You're again just every little inch forward, and that seems like a pretty big inch, right?
Well, I wish you all the best, and thank you for coming on the show.
All right, take care. Have a great night. Cheers.
And that's it, and I'll talk to you guys next week.